We're doing the next 5 Proverbs today, and this is 6 to 10. And we open strong with a declared list of 6 things that God hates and 7 things that are detestable to him. There are only 7 things on this list, so I presume the first 6 are things that God both hates and detests, or finds detestable. Difficult to see what that difference is, but it could be subtle difference there anyway. And the final one, he doesn't hate, but he does detest, I think. Something like that. So the first one is haughty eyes. So that sort of idea of arrogance, I suppose. And yeah, I guess if they're directed to God. Interesting. A lying tongue. I mean, I don't think anyone particularly admires that, or I guess hate might be a strong word. No, I think that's probably fair, isn't it? You know, few things as annoying as someone who just can't speak truth. Hands that shed innocent blood. Reasonable. A heart that devises wicked schemes. I'm thoroughly enjoying all the use of the word wicked lately. I don't know why. It's just I can't help but hear it in, what's his name? Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill saying the word wicked is how I hear the word wicked every time. I can't read my own handwriting. Feet, not a face. Feet that are quick to rush into evil. Makes sense, yeah, perfect sense. A false witness that pours out lies. Not quite clear how that differentiates from a lying tongue, although I suppose it's a more specific example of it. You're witnessing something or claiming something. Maybe it's more general lying before, but you'd think those two come under one. So that's the 6th that God hates and is detestable to him. This final one, he doesn't hate it, but it is detestable to him. A person who stirs up conflict in a community. It's interesting, that distinction, isn't it? He doesn't hate that, but he does detest it. And then someone's gone to the trouble of presumably deciding for God, because I assume God wasn't consulted on this. Like, God, do you hate or detest this? Both. What about this? Both. Well, this, I don't really hate that, I just detest it. So, yeah, it's interesting. I guess also this ties into this idea that I've been having lately, where sin is less about the naughty deed and more about sort of the aim, the origins of the word sin being to miss the mark. And you know, all of this, like the hands that shed innocent blood, doesn't seem to be getting at the actual act of shedding that blood. It's the instrument of doing it and the intent and all the rest of it. Something like, I don't know, that idea is definitely bubbling along in my head, rightly or wrongly. But yeah. We then have another warning against adultery. This seems to be particularly keen on adultery because we have one in the last one as well. Bear in mind, this is Solomon doing this, the guy with 700 wives and 300 concubines. So, you know, it's difficult to take him too seriously when he's talking about adultery. It's sort of only a loophole by which he's not the biggest adulterer who ever lived. Maybe Genghis Khan was worse, I don't know. But he does seem to suggest that a prostitute for a loaf of bread would be fine. So if you're having trouble and you're going to go, oh, yes, this nice married lady. No, that's not okay. Go and find the prostitute, give her a loaf of bread. That's okay. I don't know. I mean, Solomon's supposed to be a wise man, but he sounds a bit like a muppet through some of this. Proverb number 7 talks about guard my teachings as the apple of your eye. I assume that's the origin of the expression, apple of my eye. It means to be something you cherish. I don't really care about that, but it's vaguely interesting. Keep finding all these things that have their origins in the Bible. But this whole thing on adultery, all sounds like it's aimed towards the adulterous woman being some sort of she-devil or something like that. I mean, it takes 2 to tango, doesn't it? So it seems... I think previously in the Old Testament, the man could be stoned to death for adultery, I think. But now it's certainly all this, coming from Solomon, sounds like it's, no matter what happens, it's the woman's fault. Like the man's a complete passenger in it or something like that. Like she bewitches him or something like that. I don't know. Solomon is not showering himself in glory with some of this, I don't think. In Proverb number 8, he writes as if wisdom is some sort of character or some sort of entity who was present at the beginning of creation before the earth was created. And it's interesting how that sort of ties to this idea. We've got John in John's Gospel. In the beginning was the Word and all the rest of it. I'm not cheating. I had to read that for a thing I was doing. But John in the Gospel talks about Jesus referred to as the Word. And now we're talking about wisdom almost in that same context. I don't know if you could just hear my stomach rumbling there. Very hungry. It's the dedication in making these videos. So are we getting to a point where we're likening wisdom and Jesus as the same thing? That's getting heavy. It's so difficult to know where the boundaries lie. I'm just complete crazy. In Proverb number 9, we're back to the idea of the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So that's back from being the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge in the previous one. Don't know if that's significant, but we'll see. He also talks about the idea of the unwise being guests of folly deep in the realm of the dead. But folly, who would be the host in this situation, he likens to some sort of unruly woman. This guy's like a proper misogynist, I think. I mean, clearly loves the ladies, but in a sort of disposable sense, I suppose. It's difficult to agree that he was a wise man when he's clearly a bit of an arse to some extent. And then in Proverb number 10, we have this idea that discipline shows the way to life. And then verse 4 talks about lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands make for wealth. That alludes to something that's getting a bit of a bugbear in my head, or not a bugbear, but an idea that's emerging that I don't really like. Responsibility is one of the things I like most in the world. I think that's where one of my favourite things that Jordan Peterson brings to the mix. He's always pushing hard for responsibility. And a lot of the stuff in this world seems to be people trying to shirk responsibility and blame something else or the rest of it. In the Bible, however, it has explicitly stated, you do anything great, it's not you, it's God. And it's like, okay, so you can't take responsibility for that. But if you do evil, then you're punished for it, so you get responsibility for that. And it's sort of just driving this bit of a wedge between responsibility and what happens, I suppose. I don't really like it. It's just a bit of a bum deal in some way, because you can't take responsibility for your good deeds, but you get held responsible for the bad ones. And the whole idea of responsibility almost seems to be in question. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But that's an idea that's emerging. I might be completely wrong on that, but yeah, we'll have to see. Anyway, we shall go on and see what we can find in the next few Proverbs next week.